There is a watch that survives 12,000 Gs. A fighter pilot blacks out at 9. Rafael Nadal wore one for a decade. His wrist snaps like a car crash. Inside, a tourbillon, the most fragile thing in watchmaking. It never skipped, and it cost $1 million. So today, I'm breaking down the 7 levels of Richard Mille, from the gateway watch that still costs more than a house, to the sapphire pieces the brand won't really sell you. Here's how the ladder actually works. Level 1, the RM011 Felipe Massa. This is the watch that built the look you already recognize. The tonneau case shaped like a barrel, the skeletonized dial, the flyback chronograph. Richard Mille launched it in the mid-2000s and named it after a Formula One driver because Massa wasn't a spokesman. He was the crash test. They strapped prototypes to his wrist at 200 miles an hour to see what broke. The brand killed the 011 off in 2016, and the price went up. A used titanium one runs $180,000 today. That's the entry point. That's the cheap seat. You feel the weight when you pick it up, or rather you don't. It's lighter than your phone, and it costs more than most people's cars. Level 2. The athlete watches. The RM035 built for Nadal, the RM055 built for the golfer Bubba Watson. This is where the whole idea crystallizes. These are six-figure watches engineered to be beaten. Watson wore his mid-swing through every round on national television. The cases are carbon and a white ceramic so hard that, after diamond, almost nothing on Earth scratches it. It's a watch built to take a beating, and most of the people who buy it have never thrown a punch in their lives. The dentist isn't going 6 rounds. The fund manager isn't swinging for a green jacket. They're buying armor they'll never need, and that is exactly the appeal. Level 3, the RM67-02 and the racing color automatics. This is the everyday Richard Mille, extra flat, light enough that you forget it's on, finished in colorways named after national flags and racing liveries. This is the volume tier, the closest the brand comes to accessible, the one you actually see in the wild on a wrist at the gym. And this is where the game quietly begins. You don't get the famous pieces by walking in with a checkbook. You start here. You buy the watch they'll sell anyone, and you become someone the boutique knows. Keep that in your head. Level 4. The RM27 Nadal tourbillon. 30 grams, including the strap. The movement doesn't sit in the case. It floats, suspended on a woven steel cable just over 1/4 millimeter thick, strung like the face of a tennis racket so it can absorb the shock. 12,000 Gs. Center court, Roland Garros, second set, and he tosses the ball. The racket comes over the top and his wrist accelerates through the strike harder than the watch will feel all year. On that wrist, a tourbillon worth $1 million keeps perfect time. He doesn't think about it once, that's the point. So, here's what the ladder has been hiding. Richard Mille doesn't sell watches, it sells proof, and the proof is Nadal's wrist. Every G-force record, every gram shaved off, every tourbillon bolted to an athlete swinging for a title. None of that is for the buyer. The buyer will never stress the watch. It's the advertisement that justifies the price. And there is no watchmaking textbook where the right answer is strap your masterpiece to a man mid-serve and pray. Richard Mille did it anyway. On fewer than 6,000 watches a year, the brand pulls $250,000 in revenue out of every single one. They don't need volume, they need the right wrists, which is why the top of this ladder stops looking like watchmaking at all and starts looking like a membership you have to be invited to renew. The rest of the wealth game gets broken down here. Follow if you're in. Level 5, the RM50 series, the McLaren collaborations, and the RM50-04, built for Formula One driver Kimi Räikkönen. This is grand complication territory, a split-seconds chronograph stacked on a tourbillon, the kind of movement a watchmaker finishes by hand over months. And the standout, the RM50-03 McLaren, did something no watch had done before. Its case is built partly from graphene, the material that won a Nobel Prize at the University of Manchester, 6 times lighter than steel and 200 times stronger. The whole watch, movement, chronograph, strap, and all, weighs under 40 grams. It is the lightest mechanical chronograph ever made. And here's the quiet shift. These pieces don't get worn. They get held, photographed once, and locked in a safe. The watch built to survive anything ends up surviving in a vault. Level 6. The RMUP-01 Ferrari. The thinnest mechanical watch ever made. 1.75 millimeters thinner than 3 credit cards stacked together. Nearly $2 million. They made 150. Pharrell wore the prototype to a Paris fashion show before it even went on sale. To get that thin, they had to throw out the winding crown. It would have added height. So you set the watch through two tiny dials built into the face. And this is the strangest flex on the entire ladder. It's so thin you can't tell it's a watch. The whole point of the others is that they shout. This one whispers, and only the three people in the world who know what it is will ever hear it. Level 7. The RM56 Sapphire. The entire case is carved from solid sapphire crystal. Over 1,000 hours of machining for one watch, because sapphire is nearly as hard as diamond and shatters if you push it wrong. The movement looks like it's hanging in midair. They make these in single digits. $2 million is the entry, and the ceiling runs higher. A Sapphire RM sold for $4.5 million at auction, and a one-off skull piece went for just under 7. But here's the thing about level 7. You don't walk in and buy the Sapphire. You sit down. The salesperson brings out 3 other pieces first, watches which one your eye keeps drifting back to, and only then mentions there might be a 56 available to certain clients. You are being interviewed. You just don't know the questions. So if you actually want into this world, the move isn't to chase the Sapphire. It's to understand that the watch was never the asset. The allocation is. The relationship is. The famous pieces go to people who climbed the ladder, not people who showed up with the money. Everyone outside that system is a buyer. Everyone inside it is a client. Those are different species. And we all understand this, even if we'd never spend $1 million on a tourbillon. Everybody has the thing they'd wear to prove they made it. The watch, the bag, the car in the driveway angled toward the street. We don't want the object. We want the receipt. Nadal hangs up the racket. The watch that survived every swing goes into a case behind glass in a climate-controlled room, and it will never take another hit. It doesn't need to. It already did the only job it was built for. It proved the impossible on live television, so that 1,000 men who will never run a mile can wear the proof to dinner. They bought the survival. He's the only one who ever earned it. Subscribe. I break down how money actually moves at the top.